I used to be a long distance runner. I started running in high school as a way to, they made us run for rowing. I was on the crew team and they made us run and it was part of conditioning. So I just kept doing it because it was great conditioning. And then I ran track and then I ran in college just recreationally. And then I ran recreationally for almost my entire 20s until probably my early 30s. I was a long distance runner. I would run, I would run like 3 miles on like Tuesday, Thursday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I would run like 10. And then this was like in my height of it. And then on the weekends, I would do a long run. And I did a couple of marathons, a couple half marathons, a couple of 10Ks. I wasn't crazy about the 5Ks because they felt short because I was a long distance runner. So anyway, I tell you all that just to kind of set the stage. I'm Beth. I'm your cannabis educator and personal trainer and founder of CannaFit. And you're listening to the Canna Fitness and Nutrition podcast today. And today we are talking about the runner's high and the connection to cannabis. So, like I said, I used to be a huge long distance runner. I loved that feeling that you get when you run. And I know I'm not alone because it's called the runner's high for a reason, because what we thought were endorphins. They kick in and you start to feel amazing. Usually, okay, and you can, if you don't relate to this, that's fine. But I always felt like the first little bit of a run was always like just sort of shaking it out, you kind of like got to get your legs going. And like, you're kind of like, okay, let's go. We can do this. That was always the hardest part for me. And then like the second half of a run would be the part where I thought the endorphins were kicking in and I felt calm. I felt clear. I felt like everything is right with the world and you just your brain starts to click. It's almost like you can start to problem solve. You can go through conversations in your head. You can run through scenarios and situations. And like I said, you could problem solve. And it was just like my brain worked right and my body felt fantastic. And it just felt like a flow, almost like a flow state. And at the time, okay, this was my 20s, so this was almost 30 years ago, 30 years ago, and we all thought at that time that those were endorphins. We're like, yeah, endorphins are fantastic. We love it. We feel so good. You get home and you're sweaty but happy, and you just kind of bask in the afterglow of a run, and there's nothing like it. Or is there? Right? I stopped running in my early 30s because my knees were giving me problems and it was just easier not to run than to be in pain. I picked up walking and, fast forward, it turned out I needed 2 knee replacements, but that's not the story today. The story is cannabis. When I found cannabis, I finally felt that feeling again. And I was like, it's like my brain works again. I can use it and I can sort through situations and I can have complete thoughts and I can really use my brain creatively. And I felt that calm, clear, everything is right with the world feeling again. And I was like, this is really interesting that it's so similar. And I was like, I didn't really think much of it, honestly, because I just liked it. And I was like, great, this is great. I love it. It's fantastic. But here's where the science comes in. And this is what's so fascinating and why, I wanted to study the science of cannabis because I was so curious about all these things. And as I started to learn, I just wanted to know more and more. Like, tell me all the things. So here is the deal. I'm going to break it down for you as simply as I can. Now, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm going to give you just a quick, super quick, tiny, brief overview of the endocannabinoid system. If you're not new to the podcast, thanks for coming back as always. And here's your refresher. The body has a system internally that is called the endocannabinoid system. And in the 1980s, back when we were in the war on drugs, the government funded research to prove exactly how terrible marijuana is for our bodies. However, what they found was there's a whole system in our body that actually can use cannabis for good. In fact, your body makes cannabis-like compounds anyway. Your body makes what are called cannabinoids. Cannabis is made of cannabinoids. THC is a cannabinoid, CBD is a cannabinoid, so is CBG, CBN, CBC. Right? Those are all parts of the plant we call cannabinoids. An endocannabinoid just means that your body makes the compound internally. Right? So your body makes cannabinoids. So what I'm saying is that when you take CBD, THC, CBG, if you take a cannabinoid, you're supplementing what your body is making anyway, right? I think that's so cool and so fascinating, but you don't hear about it a ton, do you? No, I know. Anyway, one of the things that they found, one of these cannabinoids that your body makes internally is called anandamide. Anandamide. It's a weird word. It's long. It's hard to spell. I don't expect you to remember it. But if you do see it, let that ring a bell and be like, oh, anandamide, that's your body's internally made cannabis, right? So what does anandamide do in the body? It gives you that calm, clear, level feeling that you get from a run. Because what they found in the research over the they found the ECS in the 80s. So that was 40 years ago? So what they found in the last 40 years is that when you're running, your body is releasing natural compounds. And one of those natural compounds is anandamide, right? Do you see the connection here? I'm just going to repeat it in case you're not following, because I get it. I'm not a sciencey person. You've heard me say this before. I'm not super sciencey, so I really like to break it down so that it's understandable. And I'm just going to repeat it just so you make sure you understand too. Your body makes cannabinoid-like substances internally. One of those is called anandamide. And when you are running, your body releases anandamide, which provides that same clear, calm, focused, clear-headed, solution-oriented feeling in your brain, in your body, your whole body, like you're just floating. That's coming from anandamide that your body is making in the endocannabinoid system. So when you consume cannabis, whatever type it is, CBD, THC, whatever, you're supplementing what your body is producing anyway. So it's not so much the endorphins that are creating that clear feeling, it's anandamide that's creating that. Now, you don't see this a lot, do you? People don't talk about it. And that, I'm not going to get into that too much today, but just know that there's a reason why this stuff is kept quiet, is because one, we're still kind of on the heels of the war on drugs. Like, oh my gosh, can we give it up already? And the government doesn't want us to know all these things. Again, this research came out of funded research to prove how terrible it is for us. And in fact, they found that it's actually really beneficial. Our body makes cannabinoids anyway, and that cannabis is a supplement. Anyway, I won't get too much into that. My main point today is that, just like the title says, you've already been getting high on your runs. The runner's high that you're feeling is the same high that you get from cannabis. I know. Isn't that so cool? Right? I'm going to say it again just because it's so cool. You've already been getting high on your runs. The runner's high that you feel and that you love is the same high that you get from cannabis. Okay. Now, here's where I want to make some really important points. So don't turn it off yet. I want you to know that it's really important to find your sweet spot. Now, when I was a runner, I I was so much of an overachiever. I would try to run more and more, thinking, ooh, let's extend these benefits, right? I feel good when I run, so if I run more, I shall feel better more, more better, right? I will feel better the more I run. So I thought that was like a relationship that just the more you did, the better you felt, and but that's not actually true. The more I ran, the more injured I got. Right? So more isn't always better. So then when I started to have pain and be injured, I was no longer getting the benefits of the runner's high. I was getting frustration, I was getting pain, I was getting all the negative side effects. Same thing with cannabis here is it seems like, oh, well, if this much makes me feel like a runner's high and I feel so good, then what happens if I take more? More might be even more feeling good, right? More better. But that's not how cannabis works. Cannabis is what they call biphasic. And that means that just like running, the more you do it, the less beneficial it is. Okay. And the hard part is that place is different for everybody. For me, as a runner, my body started to break down after like 50 miles a week, right? Or it was less than that. Maybe it was more like 40 miles a week. But that was my max. My body was like, nope, if you're going to run more than 40 miles a week, we're going to break down. We're not going to have benefits. It's just too much for your body. Similarly, cannabis works the same way. For me personally, if I take straight THC without any balancing cannabinoids, without any CBD in it or CBG, then I blow past that feeling good and I get really flat and really blah. And I lose that runner's high feeling. If I use a blend, a high CBD, or if I half and half it with CBG, half CBG, half THC, then I get that clear, calm, everything is right with the world feeling. So it's about the dosing. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, it's trial and error. That's just how it is. We don't have a system. It would be impossible because everybody's body chemistry is unique. So my recommendation for you is if you love that clear, calm feeling, if you love a runner's high, then treat cannabis just like you do your running. Find your sweet spot so that you are getting that same effect from your cannabis as you would from a run. Now, if you're not a runner, that's okay. You can get endorphins from exercise just in general, right? It doesn't have to be, the runner's high is just a commonly known thing. But you can get the endorphin effect, the anandamide, from any physical activity. So think about your activity. Think about your workouts. Where in your workout do you start to get that, yeah, everything is great. I feel so good. I'm so glad I did this. Maybe you worked through some of your day in your head a little bit, or maybe you worked through a situation in your head already because you're just in this flow state and you feel so good, right? That feeling that you get during your workout is the feeling you want to get from your cannabis. So go slow. There's nothing wrong with going slow. You can always use more. You can't use less. That's hard to do. You have to wait the next day. But you can always add more. So my advice to anybody, whether you're super experienced or just beginning, is just start slow. Take your time. Give it a couple hours to kick in. See how you feel. Treat it like an experiment. You can always add more and see what happens. Add a puff here, add a puff there, and see how you feel. But that's what you're shooting for, is that great, calm, clear feeling, like everything is right with the world. Because thank you, anandamide, for existing in our body, and thank you, cannabis, for being a supplement to our anandamide that our body is making internally for us to give us this feeling. That is just the epitome of intentional cannabis use. Now, a lot of people like to use cannabis while they run or while they exercise, and now you're getting both, right? You're boosting it. You're supplementing your body's natural anandamide while you're working out, and that's fine too, right? Everybody gets to have their own journey and your own experience, and your body is going to react differently than mine, and it's going to react differently than your friends. Everybody's body chemistry is slightly different. It's what makes cannabis hard to figure out. It's what makes it hard to research, and it's what makes things that you do see, studies and research, questionable. Because you see things, I saw a study just recently, but there were like 82 people in it. And I was like, this isn't really research. This is anecdotal, but 82 people with different body chemistries that's not research to me.